Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to Loser Club. I've been doing a lot of TV kind of reviews and looking at recently, so I thought I'd look at some films today. So we're going to look at 10 great films on Netflix, so stick around. Apologies if you keep seeing me looking over here. My notes are there because there's names and things that I'll forget if I don't look at the notes. First up on my list today is a comedy called Step Brothers. This is one of my all-time favourite comedies, right up there, you know, with Dodgeball, Zoolander, all those. It's a Will Ferrell film starring Will Ferrell, obviously, and John C. Reilly, playing Dale and Brennan. Now, the point of the story is Dale and Brennan's parents meet at a conference that Dale's dad is presenting. They end up getting together, getting married, and they move in with each other. However, both of them still have Dale and Brennan living at home with them, even though they're about 40 years old. This means that when they move in with each other, they have to come with them as well. Now, it starts off with them hating each other and trying to essentially destroy each other, get each other out of the house.
Who's the retard? You. But you don't say that.
But eventually it develops into this friendship where they become best friends and they do everything together, which ends up being worse. But it's so funny, such a great idea. It's really silly. If you're just looking for something really easy to watch, something hilarious but just ridiculous, then this is a great film to watch. Number 2 on my list this week is a Quentin Tarantino film called Inglorious Bastards. This for me is one of the best Quentin Tarantino films, so while it's on Netflix, it's an absolute must watch. It stars some massive names including Brad Pitt, Christoph Waltz, Melanie Laurent, and Michael Fassbender, to name a few. It's set during World War II. They are in Nazi-occupied France at the time. It follows 2 different storylines. The one with Melanie Laurent's character, and then you've also got the group called the Bastards, which are Jewish US soldiers who are essentially Nazi hunters. The Bastards find out that a lot of the big Nazi leaders, including Hitler, are going to be at an event, a movie premiere at a movie theatre, which happens to be where Melanie Laurent's character is working. Now, she is also Jewish. When she was younger, her family were killed in front of her, and she managed to escape and get out with her life. Now, I don't want to give much more away of the film, but it is a very classic Tarantino film. There's a lot of action. It's also really funny. It just does it so well. It's so well written, and it's a great idea. And classic Tarantino kind of alters history. But it's a great film, absolute must watch. Number 3 on my list is a relatively recent film called A Quiet Place. This film stars real-life couple, Emily Blunt and John Krasinski, and their characters, along with their children, their family are stuck in this post-apocalyptic world where these super hearing sensitive monsters have essentially taken over. So any tiny little bit of sound that you hear, the monsters will hear from miles and miles away and will come and essentially tear you apart. This is such a great idea for a kind of thriller horror film. You are always on edge. The silence throughout the film, and you're watching them having to be so delicate with everything they do. It really just puts you on edge. It is such a great film to be able to have essentially no sound or music or that kind of things throughout the whole film, but still keep you so engaged and just ready for whatever's going to happen. It's brilliantly done, very emotional, scary as well. So an absolute must watch if you are someone that is into that kind of thriller horror genre. Number 4 on my list, we've talked about Black Mirror, the TV series before, which is done by Charlie Brooker as well, and it's called Black Mirror Bandersnatch. This has quite a few recognisable names in there, including Will Poulter, who is in The Maze Runner, as well as a few other things as well, and Asim Chowdhury, who plays Chabuddy G on People Just Do Nothing, which is a BBC show which you may not have seen. It's a bit niche. It follows a character called Stefan, who is a young programmer. He reads a book called Bandersnatch, where you get to pick your adventure. So you get to choose storylines and the paths that you want to go down for your story. He decides he wants to develop this into a game and is given the opportunity to actually be a part of developing it. Now, much like the book, in the film, what makes this film so unique and a must-watch is the fact that you get to choose your path for the film. It comes up with prompts where you get to choose a storyline to follow. It's quite an intense film, as it kind of It's this weird reality where a lot of things, it's quite dark, much like a Black Mirror film is, it gets quite dark. And there are actually 5 endings, 5 kind of main endings that you get depending on what it is. So a lot of people have watched it several times over to get the different endings. It's a really, really interesting, unique film that really you should watch purely for the experience itself. Number 5 on my list is a film called The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Now, I chose this film because, you know, Bandersnatch, Quiet Place, Inglorious Bastards, they're all quite intense films. This one has its own kind of intensity, but it's a much more laid-back, easygoing film to watch. It's kind of what I would think of as a kind of Sunday film. It stars actors as Logan Lerman, Emma Watson, it's got Ezra Miller, and even Paul Rudd in there as well. The main character, Charlie, is quite introverted. He's a freshman at school, and he ends up kind of he becomes friends with 2 of these seniors who open him up to this new world and try to kind of bring him out of his shell. Now, Charlie's character has been kind of quite deeply affected by his childhood. He's quite fragile, and a lot of this film looks at his mental state throughout the whole thing. It is quite an emotional film, but it is a nice kind of easygoing film to watch, and it's something that's kind of surprised me. I wasn't sure that I was going to enjoy it, but when I watched it, I loved it, and I've watched it quite a few times since. So, you know, nice easy film that I really recommend. Halfway through the video again, and I'd just like to say if you're enjoying it, please like and subscribe below. Really helps the channel out, really helps me out. Number 6 on my list, we've looked at quite a few films, so I thought I'd do a feature-length documentary called Fire, spelled F-Y-R-E, because apparently it's cooler. This documentary follows a series of events that happened to what was supposed to be a luxury festival, luxury VIP festival called Firefest. It was a festival that was supposed to be being held in the Bahamas, where you could buy all these luxury tents, there'd be lots of influencers there, spent loads of money on all the marketing to get people to buy the tickets to go, but the whole thing unravels and you realize that actually the guy that's running it just keeps taking money from other places to fund something that he just can't keep up with such a short period of time. And it is one of the most insane journeys I have ever been part of. Some of the events that happen in the film are so shocking, you cannot believe it was real life. It actually happened. So if you are into kind of documentaries or looking to kind of get away from kind of TV and film and look at something a bit more real, please watch this because it is just so shocking, but it's so great. Number 7 on my list is a film called Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Now, I couldn't get through doing a series of films or anything like that without doing something that has kind of come from a comic book and been made into a film. But it's done such a way that it is essentially like watching a moving comic book, essentially. Stars some big names, including Michael Cera, Anna Kendrick, Jason Schwartzman. The film follows Michael Cera's character, who meets this girl, this really out there girl who has this crazy, colourful hair, and he just instantly falls in love with her. However, he finds out very quickly that to be with her, he has to go through a series of trials. He has to defeat her 7 evil exes to be able to have the chance of being with her. It's a very quick-paced film. A lot goes on very quickly. It's very sharp, very action-packed, and very comic book fashioned. Again, it's hilarious throughout as well, being a kind of classic Michael Cera film. So something a little bit different, a bit more kind of cartoony, a bit crazy, a bit wacky, but really good, so give it a watch. Number 8 on the list, a massive dive away from kind of Scott Pilgrim, is a film called Ex Machina. Now, when this first came out, I really wanted to see this film, but I never got around to it, and I finally got around to watching it, and it was great. It was so amazing. Stars Domhnall Gleeson and Oscar Isaac as well. It's really just focused around these 2 characters. Domhnall Gleeson's character, Caleb, is a young programmer who gets the opportunity to go and be part of this experiment where they're looking at synthetic intelligence, the kind of human reactions in an AI robot to see if they can make them human. It's a really interesting film as it only centers around kind of 3 characters throughout the whole film. It's based in this kind of laboratory. You can't really class it as a home. It is their home. It is where they live, but it's very, it's very kind of futuristic in the way that it is. But it's so interesting because it is kind of a look into what the future could be like with these kind of AI robots. The acting is fantastic, the writing is brilliant, and it is a really, really good watch. It's a very serious film though, so if you were looking for something that you really want to sit down and get into, a really serious one, then this is one for you. Number 9 on my list, I thought I'd go back to a comedy before we get to our last film, and there's a film called 50-50. Now, I think this film kind of flew under the radar a little bit. I haven't really heard many people talking about this film, but I've watched it so many times. It's one of my favourite films for ages. It stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt, it stars Seth Rogen, Anna Kendrick as well. It's actually based on a true story, and it's probably a true story for a lot of people. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character develops cancer at quite a young age, and it kind of follows his time going through chemotherapy and his life having to deal with having cancer. He's got his best friend, Kyle, played by Seth Rogen, who, you know, is there with him the whole time. He really is that comic relief through such a serious topic. He also sees a therapist regularly, who is Anna Kendrick's character. He's very reluctant to see the therapist. He doesn't really enjoy it. He doesn't see the point of it. But, you know, he opens up a lot more as the film goes on. I want to say it's lighthearted, but obviously being such a serious topic, it walks that fine line, but they do such an excellent job of it. It is really funny throughout, but it also is very emotional through it. But, you know, it's another film that, another kind of, I would say, easy watch. Something that's just, you can sit down, not have to worry. And yeah, I think you'd be surprised at the amount of people that haven't seen this film, but I really think you should watch it. Finally, number 10 on my list is a film called Seven Psychopaths. Seven Psychopaths is a great film. It's got some big names in there. Colin Farrell, it's got Sam Rockwell, Christopher Walken, and Woody Harrelson, to name a few. Now, it's a dark comedy. It is funny, but it walks that kind of dark line. It follows Marty, who is Colin Farrell's character. He is a screenwriter, and he has this title, Seven Psychopaths, but he hasn't really got much substance to it, so he has to find something to fill his story. Now, his friends that are played, you know, Sam Rockwell and Christopher Walken's characters, they are dog nappers. They steal people's dogs and then they return them for the reward money. However, the film goes very quickly awry when they steal a gangster's, well, I say gangster, they steal his dog, which is played by Woody Harrelson. They steal his dog and find out very quickly that he is hunting them down, and it was not a good idea. As well as Marty's character putting out an advert to try and interview psychopaths for his film, he follows this kind of crazy journey adventure that his two friends go on and uses that as part of his screenplay. It is a really funny film. If you're into that dark comedy, then it's absolutely perfect for you. You should have watched this ages ago. However, it is just a really, really well done film. I think it's brilliant, and I honestly recommend it to anybody. Okay, that wraps up this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, really helps the channel. If you have any recommendations of your own, please feel free to comment. I'm on Instagram, Facebook at Loser Club UK. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.